Hello everyone. My name is Ruqya Khan. Welcome to episode 41 of Wise Wednesdays with RK, a platform where I bring in people from my circle of genius and we have a conversation around a simple topic. And before we get into that, show reel. Wise Wednesdays started on April 1st with a humble episode on forgiveness. Between then and now, we've had heart-led conversations on happiness, stress management, relationships, resilience, public speaking, respecting boundaries, self-discovery, mindset, just being, listening, reclaiming your life, intuition, and even food. I would like to thank all my listeners and the guests who gave me their time and trust. It is because of you that we kept going. It is because of you that we kept growing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today on episode 41. Topic of conversation is law of attraction. But is that important? Yes and no, because even more important than that is the person I have on board with me and for who you all are here to listen to. Kartika Nair, an entrepreneur, a personal coach, a trainer, a mentor to millions, someone who is the founder of Synchro Shakti, an empowerment brand, and actually she needs no introduction. So without further ado, here we have with us Kartika.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Ruqya, for inviting me.
Thank you for saying yes. So Kartika, when I run these sessions, when I have my episodes, I always ask the speaker what they would like to speak on. And you gave me this list of things, and what really jumped at me was law of attraction, because that's what you largely speak on. And so that's what we finalized. Tell me, what is the significance of the law of attraction in your world?
In my world, as in my life, or in my world, as in the students and all of that.
Whatever you want to perceive it as, you tell me.
The significance of law of attraction is essentially creating the world and the lives that we've always wanted to live in on a not only in our lives but on planet Earth. We are right now living in a frequency of fear. We're living in a frequency of victimhood, that we are out of control. We don't know who's running the show. Law of attraction comes in for us to figure out that we as a collective created the reality we have right now, and as a collective we can create the reality that we want. So both in terms of all of our worlds together as well as our personal lives, that is where the significance lies.
Hmm. And you, if I go through your story and your journey, you have been someone who's battled depression, come out of it, and said, "Booyah!" to depression and moved on. So tell us a little about how everything kind of came together for you, or how did you make it come together for yourself?
So my journey goes way back to from childhood. And childhood, a lot of, it's like the typical story. You were bullied. It's nothing that is too out of the ordinary. But because most trainers and coaches have gone through something like that to have learned something to start talking about it. So I went through the whole thing: social anxiety, abysmal self-esteem, basically no self-esteem, growing up holding a lot of pain because of being bullied, and just generally feeling like you don't belong here on planet Earth, feeling the weight of just not even wanting to exist. It was a pretty painful childhood, not because of anything extraordinary, but just because I was very sensitive in a world that wasn't super kind to sensitive people. So all of the emotional pain kind of grew into something called as panic disorder, which happened in 2013. And because of panic disorder, and for those who have experienced that, those who have felt it are the only ones who know it.
Yeah.
Everyone else has their ideas on what anxiety and panic disorder looks like, but only the ones who've been through it really understand. So because of panic disorder, not being able to leave the house, I was panicking. Panic basically makes you feel like you're dying, and your brain convinces you that it's over. This is your last moments on earth, and there is no trigger. So you're just walking down the street, or you're just eating a meal or watching something, and suddenly you're hit with this feeling of this is the end. It's a super massive dread state, and it would go on for hours on end. So because my soul wanted to live the life it wanted to live, so traveling and teaching and doing music and living the best life, yet I couldn't leave my house because I was panicking at home, panicking outside. So my soul was kind of crumpled up so much that it brought a lot of depression because there was no life, it was death, basically living in a dead state. And so all of that brought me to mindfulness, which is, one of the things I teach my students is most people don't need law of attraction, they don't need manifestation, because that's still just band-aids. You're not
Yep.
really healing the core of yourself, your life. What we all need is mindfulness, which is understanding that mind, the instrument that is keeping us so locked in pain and suffering, to help us. If we understand this thing, we can stop suffering and use that mind, which is a tool. It's like a calculator. You can use it to create, you can use it to think, you can use it to solve problems and take your journey elsewhere. So that's how I started with mindfulness merged into positive mental attitude, and then got out of that, and then I've been panic free ever since. No panic attacks, no medication, none of that, just meditation.
No medication, just no medication, just meditation. I love that. There are many misconceptions about meditations, right? People think that when to meditate, you need to have this level of awareness, or really be able to still your mind.
Mhm.
Is stilling the mind overrated?
No, it's not. Um, it's a skill. So basically, throughout our lives, from the time you were born and the time I was born, we've been taught to think, and we've been taught to think so much about so many things that it's become an addiction. And our brain is wired to behave that way, so it cannot switch off. It's wired that way. But the good news about the brain is it's plastic, neuroplasticity. You can change, it's malleable, you can move things around with practice. So if in my case 29 years, so I came across mindfulness about 4 years ago. So let's just say about 25 years of my life, I was living in my head constantly. I was one of those people who would go from my house to the bus stop and not realize how I got there, because the whole time I was up in my head in some conversation with some phantom being in my head, somebody, something. And so I lived so much in my head that coming back to meditation and the present moment and back in your body, so difficult, because that's the habit that we built. And the dopamine, the motivation, joy, happy part of our brains that feels the desire to think, it gets so entertained by our thoughts that trying to come back to the moment is so boring to that part of the brain. So in my case, what I had to do was, because it was a life or death situation for me, because I was living in a panic situation, I was mentally ill. I didn't have the luxury to think of my meditation as overrated or underrated or stillness. So I had to do it. There was no, my back was against the wall. So either I live or I don't live, and the only way I knew I could live is to rewire my brain. And the only way to do that was to force myself to practice these new patterns, this new way of doing it. Nobody can meditate brilliantly in the beginning. Very few people. Again, it's habit, right? To
Yeah,
constantly
yeah.
think. So what we do, so my main teaching is mindfulness. This is what my main courses are about. So what we do with our students, and what I did those days, is I would start off with 5 seconds of just being trying to be present, and I have techniques to drop your thoughts. So in 5 seconds, I would drop my thoughts. Then next time, try 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and you build it up to a point where you're able to sit for many hours in stillness. And that is possible, and it's just a skill, and it's just practice. So definitely worth it.
Super. So I'd like to first also welcome everyone who's watching us. Guys, if Yes, lots and lots of people watching us. Thank you for tuning in today. If you have any questions around mindfulness, around the law of attraction, do type them in comments, and we'll address them as we progress. If you're new to the channel, do subscribe and be part of the conversations, not just for today, but also in coming days. So thank you for tuning in. Kartika, when it comes to you said you had to your back was against the wall, you had a do or die situation. Does it always have to be a do or die situation? How can you prepare
No,
yourself before you get there? What tips and tricks could you tell us about,
that's
to
a
kind
good
of prepare
question.
yourself? Thank you.
So, the whole point of having trainers, coaches, mentors is to tell you that don't wait for for a live or die situation
Exactly.
before you start implementing this, so you can avoid situations like that. So that's the whole point of us teaching, doing these kind of conversations, is to make sure that, see, there are two parts of this. One is, there's a story about the dog, the crying dog. I talk about this a lot. I'm not sure if you heard it,
Yeah,
but
please.
there was this man who walked into a store, and he heard in the store the sound of this dog wailing and crying. So he asked the owner of the store, "What is this sound?" And the owner says, "Well, my dog is sitting on a chair." So he's like, "Why is he crying?" And he says, "Because there's a nail on the chair and the dog is sitting on it and he's crying." And so the man says, "Why doesn't your dog just get off the chair?" And the man says, "It's hurting, but it's not hurting enough for him to do something about it." And a lot of people are in that state where it takes a back against the wall situation to really get yourself out, because we're addicted to suffering, we are addicted to misery, we are addicted to drama of pain. It's part of what we've collectively learned, and it's also part of what we're used to. So sometimes, and I know this because I've been teaching mindfulness for a long time, is a lot of us want to get better, but then we also like the suffering. And so it's like this the comfort of depression. It's like I don't want it, but at the same time it's so familiar to me. So it's not necessary for you to have your back against the wall, but most of the time the ones who are most motivated to change are the guys who've had their back against the wall. So is it necessary? Not at all. But you have to now ask yourself that question: should I wait for that point, or can I really figure out why it's important for me to get started now? So that goes into your internal motivation. So those my tips and tricks is basically figure out, why do I want to have control over my mind, over my life now, not someday in the future for a rainy day. Now, what makes me inspired now? So again, if to each person it's a different journey. There's some things that came to me when I didn't need it, but I took action on it and I did well with it. Some things came to me when my back was against the wall. So it all depends on how your attitude towards everything. And then once you decide, I want to have complete mastery over my thoughts, my emotions, my behavior, my life, and that decision is made not from pain, but from inspiration for a good life, from for joy and love of a good life, not because I hate my current life, but because I'm inspired to create a beautiful life. There's a two different energies. To
Absolutely.
create from I don't like my life, so I want a better life, you will carry that dislike for life everywhere you go, so you won't be able to create something new. But if you can drop that and say, I want to create a new life because I love the feeling of new energy, because I love the feeling of new experiences and new growth and that amazing feeling of happiness, and now you're in a different vibration, that's a great motivating place, because fear can only motivate you so far. You want to try to get back into love and things like that. Those are little tips to get started on this.
True, true. And I get where you're coming from, because when I hit rock bottom and when I felt like my back was against the wall was 2017, when Papa passed, and was also the time when my children left the nest for university. I felt really this overwhelming darkness and emptiness from within. I'd find myself waking up at 5 p.m. on most days, p.m. Because the house was empty, didn't want to face it. And I think 6 months after all of that, when I met my children, and my son on a bus ride asked me this question, he said, Soma, what have you been up to?
Hmm.
And immediately the defenses went up, and I said, I'm your mother. You're not supposed to speak to me like that. But he's my son after all. He said, all that is fine, but what about accountability? And that for me was like that that turning point where I thought, okay, here are two people for whom or because of whom I wanted to do more in life than diapers and dishes. They're the reason I kind of set out on this journey of being a writer and then segued into speaking, etc. So these are people who are waiting for me to come out of that little shell that I've put myself into. And so I sat down with myself and started looking up ways of how I can, do more, contribute, and create more possibilities for myself and my tribe. And so that's where the daily videos started. May 1st, 2018, initially I ran a poll, and then on May 1st, 2018, I started doing my daily live videos. And today is day 989 of that commitment, day after day after day. And it's just become this purpose that I live for, and I enjoy contributing. So I do get what you're talking about. Yes, it's so
Yeah, it
important
took
to
a
make
one
that shift.
conversation, yeah, but it made the shift.
Yeah,
So again, you have to ask yourself, you have to sit with yourself. Do I wait for a worse situation, or can I just start now and avoid the worst situation?
absolutely. We have Junath here, who's always constantly looking at improving, doing more, and growing. And he has a question for us. He says, "How effective is it to attend an online course on mindfulness?" Great question.
It depends on the course and the trainer and the community. So if you are so it's like the 4%. The 4% is basically out of 100%. You always have this 20-80 rule. 20% of people are like super driven, and 80% will get through three videos and then stop. So it's never really. It depends. I don't believe it's the course. I believe a lot of the effectiveness is on you as the person and how you
Yeah,
make the most out of your course. So the an online, like in my case, mine is a digital world. My students are learning online and they learn mindfulness. We have a lot of students, again, 80-20 rule, right? We have 20% of our groups. They have surpassed me. They are so far ahead in the mindfulness game, in how they react to life, how they are within themselves, surpassed even the trainer, which is the goal of being trainers, is to
yeah,
have your students surpass you. But there is also a chunk of our group, students, who the love of suffering is greater than the dedication to go beyond it. So it is totally dependent on you, in my opinion. And I can only speak for my courses. Brilliantly effective, especially when your course, that whoever course you're studying on mindfulness, if they have a community, if they have a Facebook group, Telegram group that sticks together, so when you have a problem, you speak to them, they come together as a community and raise you up. That also increases your effective, how effective it is. The trainer's experiences, in my case, I'm not enlightened, not even close to it. So I go through my real life experiences, breaking through suffering and breaking through barriers, that I then translate into lessons and teachings that guide the other people. So what happens with these kind of real life trainings is increases the effectiveness, because you have someone whose story you can relate to. So again, depends on the trainer, the course, but also depends thoroughly on community and you. So I definitely agree that online courses can be really effective, but depending on you, the trainer, the community, and the course.
true that. And when we talk about trainer community and the course itself, I know that you talk a lot about scripting. Would you like
Hmm.
to tell us a little more on scripting? Okay, wait. Junith has replied. He says, "Thank you for the input. I'm actually greedy of getting more knowledge, so I glue to the chair. But yes, as you said, the trainer and batches matter. Can you please send me your course details and training you conduct? I wish to do." Super. We'll
Just
definitely put that in comments.
Yes, yeah. We can. What I would recommend is, again, um, you can email us. We can give you a replay of a previous webinar or give you a link to a coming webinar. Always good to go through a free mindfulness training, a solid training before you decide to take on the courses, because we always like that way to go through it. So then you realize if we are for you, if the course is for you, if this content is for you, then if you feel in your heart it resonates, all parts of you say, yes, this is for me, then we'll discuss the course. But first, always come through a free class first.
Makes complete sense. So yes, if it's okay, let's move to scripting and understanding what that is all about. Yes.
Okay, so scripting is a different field to mindfulness. This is now going in the region of positive mental attitude, law of attraction, all of that. So scripting is basically writing how you want your life to go, and you're basically giving a conscious direction. So I'll give you an example of this glass of water, right? So water is has no actual shape, right? It can take the shape of whatever vessel you put it in. It's the same thing with your energy, your consciousness, your life force energy. It can go in whatever shape you give it. And the way you give shape to something is by describing your life, your thoughts, the way that you it's a direction, it's the vessel that you put the water or your life energy in. So scripting is basically shaping that vessel so that your life takes that shape. So it is writing the kind of life that you want. There are multiple ways of scripting. So in our courses, we have multiple ways in which we help students do scripting. So one is write a letter to your past self as your future self. So you may say something like, hey, I just wanted to tell you that it was a little rough in the beginning, but you figured it out. And guess what just happened? All of these dreams have come true. All of these things have happened. Celebrate, you've done really brilliantly. So what you've done is basically visited the future, and you've written down, this is what's happened. You've gotten over your initial humps, and now you're doing really good. So that shifts your vibration and brings about a little bit more belief in the future, and that's how your mind starts following. So brain has a little GPS system. If you give it a direction, an example of that is if you want to go from your house to the bus stop, whether you were aware of your every step or not, somehow you reach the bus stop because your
Yeah.
brain takes over. So scripting is like telling the GPS of your brain where you're headed, and then the mind starts working. Even when you're sleeping, your mind is working. When you're awake, your mind is working towards that direction that you've scripted. So you basically write a letter from your future self to your past self. You can also just script a movie script, just like I always say the story. One of my family members, when she was a kid, she wrote a story, a very creative story for her essay writing competition. And when she grew older, so she had this pretty dramatic story of this person who fell in love with this other guy, ran away from home, and then that guy had started cheating on her, and had this other family, and then they had this tough time, and she wrote this super creative story. When she grew older, you won't believe it, but the level of creativity she put in that story and the attachment she had to it, the same thing ended up manifesting in her life. She had the exact
Wow.
character, step by step experience as that creative story that she wrote. Because creative energy is, you can create a baby, you can create art, you can create a life itself. So
You can create a
creativity,
mess.
you can create a mess, and all
Yeah.
of our thoughts are essentially creative energy being given a certain direction. So if you shift the way that you're thinking, you end up creating something different. So scripting out your movie, what you want your life to look like. I have so many scripts I've made over time, including things like this, which I never knew would be possible. When I started in 2011, so 10 years ago when I started, I have scripted all of these things, meeting you
Wow.
guys, hanging out with, all of these people, this community. I
That's
didn't
it.
know it was possible, but it happened over time because your mind does follow suit. So that is scripting, just writing out the movie storyline of how you want your life to go, but in present tense, like it's
But in,
already the way
yeah.
you want it to be.
Awesome. So we have your students who walked in, and we have Meet who says, "I'm one of us new students of mindfulness. I'm loving my journey of healing with Kartika. Just love her teaching. She's a great mentor. Just love her. High five. I do agree with you. She is awesome." Nisha says, "I'm Kartika student. Love Kartika in our community. She's changed my life." It's
Thank you guys.
it's conversations like these, it's acknowledgments and love like these, like this, that keeps you going, and it's so beautiful. Thank you guys for tuning in today. So beautiful. So we spoke about scripting and writing in the present tense. Now, what about those of us who give up easily?
Hmm.
Because yeah, we like, okay, you do it a day, you do it a week, a month, if you're lucky, and then you go, this stuff doesn't work.
Yeah, that's the majority.
Yes.
It's Nothing is as it seems. So, one good thing about all of us humans is humans are always striving to thrive. This is part of our genetic code. You babies will crawl and then walk and then run. This is part, success is wired in us. So, we don't technically give up in the long run. We tend to give up in the short run. Some people give up forever, but then somehow they still, in some way, striving to do better, which is why they come back to videos and books and things like that. So the once you have the seed to want to do better, you'll find a way. It's just that the journey is never a race, it's always a marathon. So all of us tend to fall down, all of us tend to get back up and try to figure some other angle to it. So the bigger picture is more important than getting the consistency so strong in the beginning. In the beginning you'll always have ups and downs, but what helps in consistency is one community. Like I said, in our case, our students who are here, they all have communities of the courses that they're in. So they make friends with each other, they have partners with each other, they text each other to make sure they wake up, do the session, do the work. So having friends or people around you, a community that is also interested in the same, achieving their goals, hanging out with goal driven people is really good. Secondly, hanging out with people who are successful. That's another way to up your motivation. Because when I say hanging out with people, some of us, like myself, did not have the luxury of being around super successful people all the time. So what we did, we got books. We went on online, forums. We went and studied courses or watched videos. All of that is hanging out with the successful. So success stories, biographies, doing all of that is another way to keep yourself motivated and inspired. But mostly it's you figuring out my big why, going back to what we were discussing about how effective is a course. Never about the course, mostly all about us and how dedicated we are to the course. So the big why is, what is the big reason why I want the life that I want? And it's not a surface level reason. It's not Ruqya may say, I wanna change the world, and that's why I'm doing this podcast. But that's not the actual deepest reason why. If I ask her, why is it important for you to change the world, she'll have some another answer. Then if I ask her, why is this important, she'll have one more deeper answer. Then I ask, why is this important, she'll have one more deeper answer, until she gets to the very core reason of why it's important. And when that reason is reached, you'll get back up and you'll continue trying. And nothing works unless you give it your due diligence. So even in our courses, I especially mindfulness, because it's not easy to sit and do your self mastery work. We tell people, give it 1 year. Don't even email me, don't text me, don't do anything. Even try to assess your progress with a 1 year of dedicated practice. Because in 1 year, if you give something your due diligence, even if it's one book that you're reading and you master its principles for 1 year, with commitment, okay, you fall off here and there, but get back up and try again, and you take 1 year due diligence, then you will know if it really works or not. But what happens is people give themselves 1 year but not due diligence. They give all the other habits that is blocking this one from working out, and then they kind of do this mix of things for 1 year, and then they decide it doesn't work. But as long as you hang out with a community that's constantly producing successes, you know that it works, and you just have to give it the due diligence. So hang out with the right people. I think that's a tip.
Absolutely. Hanging out with the right people is so important, and it's also important to be mindful of what you're consuming.
Yes, absolutely. Media is a big plays a big role in that.
Yeah, and I think those of us who got a little overwhelmed, a little is an understatement, with all that was going on with the corona and everything else, were the ones who kind of succumbed to it, whereas those who kind of made sure they focused on what was possible instead of what was not, definitely
Yes.
used the time in a better way.
Yeah, they changed everything. I have to kind of pause here and really push that point. I started writing this book recently, and we were talking about the journey, the 2020 journey, because in 2020 we created this program called the MMMC, which is no longer there. The live program is over. The replays will be available later for people, but the live program, this was, when we say you can create your own reality, this was proven in a year like 2020, where the entire planet was split between people who completely gave up, and people who totally reinvented themselves at that
Yeah.
time. Now, of course, it was a tough year for everybody, but there were people who completely smashed it. In our club alone, we had people who had reached the highest, including myself, highest in business success, finances, relationship, health, career, everything, the highest of highest of highest in the same year, where everybody else was losing out. And a lot of that was because of what you consumed and the vibration you were at. It goes back to creative energy, what you create. We have a, like, depression back in the days of the 1930s. More millionaires and billionaires came out during the depression than any other time, because it all
Yeah.
depended on how you looked. There is no economy there is no world out there. The entire world exists purely
Within
vibration.
you.
So you create, and that's how we proved it in 2020 with even a year like that.
True. So one of the metaphors that I use and speak about is how, if you're on a train and you're passing through a tunnel which is really dark, so one moment you're enjoying the scenery and the other moment you're going through this tunnel and you don't really know when you will come out the other side. And when you're in that tunnel, everything begins to feel very amplified. The sounds that's coming in from outside, everything begins to feel a little overwhelming. So the best you can do in that situation is just to go within and to stay put
Mm.
and to be mindful of the people around you and just respectful of your space and theirs, and see how best you can use the time. Because eventually, yes, the train will come out the other side. And whenever and however it does, you'll be ready for it. So, yeah,
Yeah,
so going
yeah,
within is so important.
so important. Yeah.
So we do have a few more comments coming in, and a lot of your friends messaging. So I'm just going to read them out to you. Vidya says, "I completely agree with my friends. I'm Kartika student too. She is amazing, and it has just made me a different person. Enjoying this talk. Thanks for this." Junit, the one who
Yeah.
asked us about mindfulness, he says, "I think we all are in the same committee somewhere around. We all worked in different scripts, and I believe NLP has made a huge impact on my life, and I think the same with Rooks." He calls me Rooks. He's from my batch of NLP. Shruti
Oh,
says, yes. Shruti says, "Hello there, good to see you. Yes, she's the best." We have Sarah who says, "Hiya, I too, Kartika student. She is totally amazing." We have
thank you
Asha.
guys.
Okay, I'm just going to put the comments up here so that I don't have to read through them. So we have Asha Chinoy. She wants to know if you remember her. Nice to see you again. This is
Hi,
interesting.
Asha. Yeah.
And
Yes,
we have,
2020 became the best year. It was really powerful.
yes, it was. And then who else do we have here? Sarah adds to that. Um, MM, MMMC was truly amazing. Thank you so much, Kartika. She's transformed millions of lives, including mine, helping us to live happily in the moment. We've got Nirali,
Yay.
and we've got Abhijit, who says, "What if I miss? What if I miss
Affirmations.
affirmations any day?" Okay, so tell me
That's
about that.
perfectly fine. That's a good question. Okay, so there are two aspects to it. Okay, so this is my understanding of it. Once you've affirmed something to the universe, even once, the universe has heard you. You don't have to yell at it a lot, like constantly do the affirmation. Universe has heard you. The reason why we do affirmations is so that you hear yourself. So the if you miss a day or two, that's perfectly fine. The reason why we do affirmations is so that you begin to believe in it, you start vibrating in that frequency and allowing that to come into your life. So it's not so much to tell the universe, "Hey, have you heard me?" Like, every day. It is for you to believe. So what happens is, if I start affirming that I am the most confident, amazing person, but then at the same time, the next thought of mine is, "But how can that be true?" And then the next thought of mine is, "But look at all the things that happened in my past." And the next thought is, "But then these people don't like me." Now what you've done is you've nullified that vibration, because you added all these vibrations. So we do affirmations, doesn't have to be every day. It could be every other day. It could be 3 times a week. It's totally fine. But the whole point of it is not how many times you do it, but how strongly you vibrate in the truth of what you're saying. So if it's
True that.
okay if you miss a day or two, but if you it's not, it's so how we teach it in MMMC is that when you write out a affirmation, you also visualize what it looks like to have that affirmation come true, because your subconscious works in imagery and symbols. You also feel in your heart what it would feel like to have that come true. So when
Hmm.
you see yourself as let's say your affirmation is, I have the most incredible health ever. You see yourself with on top of the mountain, with your hands up, and you feel your whole body shining with light, and then you repeat that with the imagery, with the feeling. It becomes so much more lodged in your subconscious, and so after that you're kind of building a cloud that you end up sitting on the cloud, and the cloud takes you. You don't have to do the affirmation for the rest of your life. It will begin to start becoming natural, normal. It'll be a normal part of your belief system. In your head you are the best, you have the best health. After that you don't have to keep repeating it. So it's not so much about how long you do the affirmation, it's about how strongly you've internalized the truth of what you're saying. So that is why we do it again and again. But if you miss a day, totally fine. Miss 2 days, totally fine. Come back on
Hmm.
the next day and do it again. Just make sure the days that you missed it, you don't start affirming the opposite. I suck or my life sucks. Try to be mindful and drop that.
So this, so this is kind of like those of us who go on a diet and then have one cheat day, but they cheat so badly on that cheat day that they've kind of rubbished all the effort that they put in the last 6 days. So being
I think,
mindful.
I mean, yeah, being mindful of that, but also not so with cheat days. Again, it's all about your thoughts. See, at the end of the day, food is vibration, thoughts are vibration. It's all just everything is energetic. So your thoughts around that cheat day, in fact, you shouldn't even call it a cheat day. It's just a day. Your thoughts around that will also determine the results that you have. There are plenty people like Dr. Hewlett, who was co-authoring the book Zero Limits and At Zero. He says it's all thoughts. So you eat whatever you want. Your body will respond based on the thoughts you have around the food. So if you look at it as a cheat day, I feel guilty, this body response. If you see it as just another day, it's again self-discipline. Self-discipline doesn't mean that you don't have days where you indulge. It just means that you have more days where you're disciplining yourself. It's all about
So
your attitude around it.
true that. So we have Nirali who asks, how do we let it go?
Okay, so Nirali, I have a whole guide on YouTube, one of the recent videos on how to let it go. But a lot of people have this misunderstanding that letting go and detachment means not wanting the desire anymore or not caring about the desire anymore. It's the other way around. So letting go is, just understand it this way. Uh, Letting go is, I know what I want, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not stressing out about how and when it's going to show up. That I am excited to see how it happens. I'm excited to be surprised. So you're keeping your vibrations up. That is letting go. So when you pretend that you already have something, your attachment to it drops immediately, because now it's not in a pedestal. I want it, I need it somewhere in the future. No, I have it. I have that amazing health. I feel pretty awesome about the fact that I have amazing health. In the moment of feeling like you already have something, there's no attachment to it because you have it. Like, what attachment do you have to your iPhone that you bought? Nothing, right? You dropped it yesterday morning. So the attachment is not that high because you have it. It's yours. But when it becomes a desire that you pushed out there and it's not internalized as you already have it, then attachment grows, because there's so much space between you and that thing. So two ways of dropping attachment is, one, just being excited about the how and when, letting that go to the universe. We're like, I just know it's coming. I know it's already mine at the quantum level. It's mine. I've seen it. I felt it. It's mine. So I am not really that attached to it. How it shows up in the physical world, I'll allow the universe to show me. That excitement of the mystery of how it will show up is letting go. So how to let go is just, there are several ways. One is just being I can give you an example, an affirmation here is, always imagine that either you will get what you have affirmed or something infinitely better. So either this or
Hmm.
something better. So you always leave
100%.
yourself open for miracles and open for being surprised. Like if you, let's say it's a surprise party and you can get all the best gifts in the world, would you be so stressed to say I hope I get that TV? But you know that in that surprise party you could get 50 TVs, you could get all the amazing things. You won't be so stressed out about the one TV because you're excited to see what all is there, right? So that is letting go. It's that state of just being so comfortable with not knowing, so comfortable with the mystery of how and when, and just being excited. That is letting go.
True that. And I think a very good example of it would be the honorary the YouTube um,
Oh.
trophy that you have at the
Yeah,
back of you.
yeah, yeah.
And I love that story of yours. Would it be okay if you shared that with our
Yeah,
viewers?
of course. So, the story of how this manifested. In fact, this morning I was sitting with a new employee that I'm training in my company, and we were going through this other YouTuber. Her name is Sunny. We were going through her ebook because I'm writing this book. So we were going through her ebook to see the different colors, and it struck me that I had downloaded this other trainer's ebook, and she had 109,000 subscribers and I had like much less. And I used to look up to that ebook going, wow, this one has got such big number of subscribers. See, I'm not into vanity. Subscribers mean zero nothing in terms of your business success and YouTube success, because most people who watch you are not really subscribed. So
Yeah,
subscribers and all of that doesn't really matter in terms of how successful you can be in your business and back end and helping people, but it's a good credibility that you can have to your company or your brand. So that is the
yeah,
only reason why we were looking at these numbers. So but then today when I look back, we've crossed 153,000,
yeah.
which is a far bigger number than the number that I saw in Sunny's ebook. And I didn't even realize that, one point very recently, it was such a smaller number. Now, the story behind it is, um, I wrote it in my scribing in a scripting book.
Yeah.
And with the same thing I just told you, I wrote that I have 100,000 subs. I closed my eyes and I saw myself holding this, this
The
holding this
trophy. Yeah.
trophy, this plaque. Now,
Trophy.
I'm
Yeah.
not, again, as a person, I'm not big on trophies and plaques, and because it's just going to gather dust. It's like a one day moment, and then it kind of, because you're mindful. When you're mindful, you realize how all of these things are not like keys to happiness or anything like that.
True. True.
It's a part of your growth journey, right? So it's a momentum of your growth. So what happened is I would close my eyes and I would see this picture. I had it on my vision board. I photoshopped, not photoshopped, I used Canva to put my
Mm.
name, Shakti, on it, 100,000 subscribers. And I close my eyes and I would imagine the texture, imagine myself opening it, imagine myself making a video for Instagram and YouTube showing people that, hey, look what just came in the mail. So when I was scripting it, I had the image and the feeling. And the feeling for me was, what would it feel like to have 100,000 subscribers? It would feel like I have a very strong channel, a very strong, the strength of the channel feeling is what I got. And I
Mm.
felt it in my heart, that vibration. And I scripted it for a couple of days because I was scripting it every day. And then I let go because, again,
Yeah.
I'm detached. My detachment comes because of mindfulness. Mindfulness is living in the present moment, having so much fun in joy of life, living every moment so joyfully. You're not thinking about when and how your desires are coming. You're just here enjoying your moments, not creating suffering in the moment. You're just happy. So because I forgot about it, I kind of came into the moment, did my videos because I like to. Suddenly, out of nowhere, I got inspired, because law of attraction, when you send out a
Yeah.
signal, the people, the answers, the inspiration, all that will come to you. And because your brain is like an antenna, you're
Yeah.
sending out signals, you're receiving signals. So I started receiving these ideas for certain videos, three or four of them, and they went viral. When they went viral, the subscribers, it became like one big boom on the channel. And then within few weeks we went from 50,000 or 60,000 something to 100,000, like in a few weeks. And then another thing is, not everyone who hits 100,000 luck. they don't get it. So I specially thought of this one, and then I got the plug. So this is another thing. It's not everyone who gets it. It's certain channels get it. And so the plug came because I held that vision, but because I wasn't attached to it, I didn't attach meaning to it. It
Yeah.
came faster. But if I became too attached to it and I made meaning that without this my life sucks, without this I can't get any better, I'm not good enough. If I had done that, I would have pushed it away and never achieved it. But because it was a fun experiment, the energy from which you create has to be fun, light, childlike, creative, detached. Just experiment, have fun, because this is life. Life is not, none of us are going to make it out alive. You're just going to have fun. That's it. So not to take it so
True that.
seriously. So I don't, this is even with my desires. Even now, I take it as just fun. If even if I don't get anything, I'm so happy in my joy of life that it just happens because of that. But when we take things so seriously, we end up pushing it away because our vibration is not, of receiving. It's of, oh, will it happen? I'm not sure. And now the universe is like, your wish is my command. You'll keep waiting for it to happen. So we have to keep it light, and that is why this happened.
True that. So the one thing I say is your mind is your genie.
Yes.
And it's like no matter what you're reaching out for, whether it's the troubles or whether it's the possibilities, whatever you're thinking, and if you're constantly second guessing your goals, the universe says your wish is my command. So here you
Exactly.
go. You were doubtful about it, so here you go. I give you more doubt to dwell on.
Yeah.
And what I say is to come from a place of curiosity, childlike curiosity instead of concern. And when you
Yeah.
say stuff like you're chasing your goals, look at the words you're using. If you're
Yeah.
chasing your goals, it just means they're running away from you. So just,
Yeah, it's a good one.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're chasing your goals. Okay, we have lots of comments coming in, but we also have a question. So I'm going to jump straight to the question, being mindful of time. Hira says, I have one question. Once you shift your vibration, people also go from your life which don't match the same vibration. So
Mhm.
she's put question marks on it. So I think she wants to understand whether that's how it works.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, yes and no. Okay, so it obviously would depend on the person as well. If they are the kind of people who have, so it's depends on the situation, but more or less, yes. When you shift your vibration, your tribe changes, your life changes. You personally don't. People will not be able to relate to you. In fact, they may not like you because they are no longer able to. Uh, Connect with you at the level that they were able to connect with you because they haven't matched up their level. Not a judgment here, it's just a vibrational evaluation. So what happens is generally we tend to connect in a low vibration of judgment towards people, situations. We tend to connect on the latest news media. We tend to connect, which is again darker stuff. We tend to connect on talking about people. And as you're beginning to fly in a different world, you're not, your vibration isn't in that space. They begin to look at you like, you've changed, what's your problem? And so things like that can happen vibrationally. Somehow these people will end up leaving your life, and maybe in a good way, maybe not in a good way. But these things do happen because ultimately it's just vibrational reality. But that's not a bad thing. The ones who will catch up will catch up. Like, I have had people in my life who I would have never in a billion years imagined them to think about, what we're talking about right now. But everyone's alarm clocks are ringing. Like, it's just the time of the planet and all the evolution that's happening. The ones who are meant to be with you will find you and they'll come back. So if you've lost somebody because of this, don't worry so much about it, because again, life is just it's an illusion, it's Maya, it's a game that we're playing. So don't take things too seriously. You will find your tribe, and those who are meant to be with you will find you. And I remember in my life, if you go on my Facebook profile, you'll see there's a quote that I put up there, because in exactly the day that I put up that quote many years ago, I was that person who begged. I was a beggar for friendship. I begged people to be friends with me. I begged people to listen to me. I begged people to be in my environment, and I would just run behind opportunities. Some company give me a job, please. Somebody please be my friend, please. Such a poverty mindset that I had around myself, that I gave up. Nobody wanted to be my friend. Nobody wanted to hire me for anything. No projects, no clients, no money, no music. Music, I would go to a producer, some, they had their own ideas. I was rejected all the time. So one day I decided, you know what? I'm going to flip this. Instead of chasing, I will just sit and focus on myself and allow the people to come. Because when your tribe will find you, they won't leave. Some will come and go, but when your tribe finds you, they will not leave because they vibrate on the same frequency as you. So you don't have to chase anybody. You don't have to worry about who's coming, who's going. You be yourself, be in joy of life, be complete, so complete within yourself that you do not need anyone on the outside to add anything to you. And that's when your tribe finds you. And so in that case, it's good that you weren't with a certain crowd of people, because you will end up, the average of the people you hang out with. So it's always good, if things are shifting, good for you. And those who are meant to catch up will catch up, and a lot of people will catch up as we go along in this evolutionary shift.
Absolutely. So we have Abhijit, who asks where the both of us are from, which part of the world, I mean city. So Kartika is from Bangalore, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Yes.
Yeah.
And I am from Hyderabad in India, but I'm currently in Dubai at the moment.
So
I'm an expat,
I
yeah,
live in Bangalore, but I come originally from Kerala,
from
totally
Kerala.
namesake Malayali, but
Yes.
living in
I like that namesake Malayali. All right. So we have Ayush who asks how to manifest something and be positive in a situation only your energy is involved, unlike how can we do for jobs or exams. Hmm.
Okay, so I think what he means is for jobs and exams, you can actually work on something physically, but how do you
Mhm.
manifest when it's just the only thing you can control is your vibration, how to
Yep.
stay positive. So there are, again, going back to the only, see, what drops you out of positivity is your thoughts, not the situation, but your thoughts around the situation. So situations are never what it seems. Okay, what you think is failure is never failure. What you think is not working out for you, universe is abandoning you, universe is not listening to you, or getting the opposite. It's never as it seems. What you don't see in that moment, you will recognize much later. So for example, always think of the big picture. Just because something appears like it's not working out right now doesn't mean in the long run it doesn't work out. I'll give you an
Yeah.
example, two examples. Okay, so one is with my career. All of you know Mind Valley is such a big company, and I was told by people who were close to mine, close to that circle, that I would make, a great employee for Mind Valley. And they, so I felt like, wow, okay, I'd love to work for a company like this. Long time back, before I, knew my own potential to start my own company, I applied for Mind Valley and I put my heart and soul and everything into it. And I couldn't really work towards it. I just made this resume and I gave it to them, and I did all the manifestation tools you can think of. I did it, and I got rejected. And when I got rejected, it broke me. In that moment, I thought, okay, I am not good enough. I don't have skills. My knowledge doesn't make sense. No one's going to listen to me. I'm not good as a personal development person. Not true. Okay,
Yep.
I don't believe that's true now. But at the time, I thought I'm just not meant for this industry because Mind Valley rejected me. How can I be? But then what I didn't realize is that a couple of months or years down the line, I was going to start my own academy. I didn't know at that time, because your ego doesn't know beyond your four walls. Higher
Yeah.
self knew that I was meant to start my own academy, have my own tens of thousands of students, and create our own stories and courses and successes, which is a billion times more fulfilling to my soul and for my business and my purpose than working for another company, right? So in that moment, would I say I failed? No. I was crying over a lollipop when the universe was going to deliver me the entire candy shop. So
Absolutely.
just, so how do you stay positive? Is just know that everything works out at the end. If either this or something much better will happen. So because everything will work out at the end, sit and enjoy the journey. Don't get super psyched out. So your thoughts about the situation is what drops you in vibration. Keep your thoughts in a place that understands that there's a bigger picture. What we think is failure, like relationships, right? When you get rejected, I've been rejected a lot, okay? But doesn't matter when you find the person who is the right one for you, right? So in my case, it was like this: you look back one day and be so grateful when things didn't work out for you between, in your relationship or career, because one day you'll meet somebody, like I did in my case, who just is from a different planet, and you would thank god that these things didn't work out, because
Yeah,
bigger picture, you'll always have what you want, is something infinitely greater, so you'll always win. Just tattoo it on your hand. I'll always win. That is your attitude. Take that attitude and your vibration will stay high.
true. Absolutely. So we have Sai who says, "Ma'am, please talk about healing and LOA routine, limiting beliefs, so much crap, blockages. Please tell us how to manage a routine healing and manifesting our wishes." Great
That's
question.
a really good question. So, from my perspective, if you've asked that question to me, what we do with in so my academy is based on one philosophy, which is low information diet. So we don't give you 5,000 different tools. We take one or two tools and we just go deep in those tools. For us, the tools is mindfulness and Ho'oponopono. Now, I don't practice Ho'oponopono that religiously. Started off there a little bit. I do teach it to students, but my personal practice is daily mindfulness. Now, mindfulness is what? It is the ability to observe and dissolve negative thoughts, includes all the blockages and limiting beliefs and all of that. Dissolve negative emotions, which is the energy field of those blockages, negative thoughts, fears, limiting beliefs, and behavior, the things that is keeping those negative thoughts, beliefs, and attitudes in your life. How do I dissolve these three is mindfulness. So having a daily mindfulness schedule where you're sitting down, sit on your bed, close your eyes, get into your body, relax your body, you will notice that there is discomfort in the body. That is energy of all that negative thinking. So discomfort might be heaviness in your chest, or some anxiety in your stomach, or even just chronic pains, and illnesses are a manifestation, especially psychosomatic illnesses. When the typical story, go to doctor, you have all these symptoms, doctor can't find a physical reason why. There is an energetic, emotional basis to all of that. So when you sit,
Absolutely.
you close your eyes, relax your body, you'll notice there's discomfort. If you don't notice it, think about your limiting belief, think about those negative thoughts. Naturally you'll notice your body
Sure.
has an emotion come up. Now you observe that emotion, don't judge it, don't resist it, think of it like a crying baby that wants your attention. So you sit with it, you cradle it, you breathe through it, and you'll eventually start releasing the very energy behind those thoughts. When I release the energy behind those thoughts will release also. It's a daily practice. So for us, what we do is we do a daily mindfulness practice, which you learn in the courses. You can also read. Num, num, num. Okay, so the book is in on my nightstand, but one of the best books on mindfulness is called The Power of Now. Read
Eckhart
that book.
Tolle.
Yeah, Eckhart Tolle. That will give you
Okay.
and practicing the power of now. If you can learn these two books and make that into your daily routine, that's all you need. In from my perspective. Now, yes, many of you have done NLP. You can do disassociative techniques. You can do switch method.
Switch
All of
method.
these things. You
Yep.
can change your narrative. But from since you
Timeline.
asked me, since you asked me, my theory is, if I need to eliminate something, I have to go deep into the vibrational roots of that thing and release that, breathe that out, and when that is out of my system, the thoughts will also change. The brain gets rewired. So daily mindfulness.
Daily mindfulness. And okay, that was a lot. So I'm just
Sorry.
going to let that settle in. No, but awesome content. Seriously, loved it. Love it. I could go on talking with you forever, and from the way that everyone's tuning in and all the love that they're sending you, I think we could all go on forever. We've got Sai, we've got Nida, we've got Abhijit, and Junit says, I believe in what you said. I had a dream to meet Dr. APJ Kalam, and it was like so deep in me. And as you said, universe gave me double of that. I dreamed. I shared I shared stage with him, and lucky to collect a memento from his hands.
Wow.
And he spoke to me, calling out my name, and the most wow moment for me. So yes, the universe speaks in so many ways. It's beautiful.
Super.
So Kartika, as a closing comment, what would you like to share with everyone who has joined us today, this evening?
So I always end all my conversations with this one thing, and this may or may not be new to you. For my students, they would have heard this, but I always say that the world around us is a mirror. It's a three-dimensional mirror, mirroring back to you what you need to heal in yourself. So a lot of people will say, cut off toxic people, or this that, but what happens is, if you avoid your triggers and you see the world as the enemy, you see other people as the enemy, you see the situation around us as the enemy, we don't see the point. The point is, I remember saying that this is Maya, illusion.
Yeah,
It's all just a projection of the inner world. Now, what is the inner world? Very simply put, since we have to end, inner world is
that's right.
deep subconsciously. If we feel like we are insignificant, deep subconsciously, if we feel victimized or small, we begin to attract people who make us feel that way. We could be the most beautiful, loving people and wonder, why am I attracting angry, hurtful people when I'm such a nice person? The world can't be a mirror of me. I'm a nice person. Why am I attracting these kind of people or these kind of situations? But how does that make me feel? It makes me feel small. It makes me feel hurt. It makes me feel ignored. It makes me feel misunderstood. And these are the vibrations that are not new. They've been there in me from so long. And that is why I attract all of these situations and match that, so that I can recognize them and heal them. So when I am clean from the inside, my life will also change. So law of attraction is, like I said, not most people don't need law of attraction, they need healing. And when you heal your own inner crap, you'll notice that you don't need law of attraction, because life will flow in its natural healthy way, just by you being healthy inside.
So true.
Law and desire.
So, and as you share that, something came up for me. I did a TEDx talk 2016. It's called The Art of Possibility. So, if you want to see a TEDx talk where someone's speaking with a good message but not really a narrator, that's the one to go for. I wasn't a trained speaker, Toastmaster, nothing. I just jumped into it because I was personally very upset with the fact that people constantly blame somebody else for the way their life is. They
Hmm.
blame the in-laws, blame the neighbors, blame their children, blame everything under the sun except taking their own responsibility. So I said, you move from feeling stuck to unstuck using gratitude and acceptance. And I said, acceptance comes when you smile. And
Yeah.
that's why the title Smile Strategist, because I didn't realize at that point how big a role this word would play in my life. But the acronym that I came up with, and I'm sure you'd understand when I say it was God given, because I didn't come up with it. I was looking for that acronym that would sit well with me, and I said, hey, listen, I need a message. And so it is, S stands for silence the mind, manage your attention. M is manage your attention. I is identify the intention. L, let things go. And E is energize the possibilities.
Wow. I felt
Thank you.
that. Very good.
Thank you. And so all that I do, it revolves around this, the work that I do as a mindset trainer. And the intention is to leave the smile as a legacy, something that people would remember me for. And it's interesting because sometimes people actually send me smile emojis as pictures and say, hey, we saw this and we thought of you. So that's
Yeah.
when it feels like, yes, mission accomplished in
Yeah.
whatever little way. So one step forward.
Yeah, and you've
So
magnetized yourself really well, because when you emailed me, we get emails like this all the time, right? Where somebody wants to put us on their show and all of that. And generally, because of time and all that, we look for channels which already have a big audience or have all of these things. And when you wrote to me, the level of magnetized confidence you had in yourself and every email and how you'd put it across, I did not want to miss this. I wanted to meet you. I was so excited
Okay.
from the beginning, and we even rescheduled the travel and all that just to come for this event because you did it for yourself. You manifested. You're a great manifester. And when you said that final one, energize possibilities,
Yeah.
you're a living, breathing example of that. So superb job.
Thank you so much, Kartika. That it definitely means a lot to me. And thank you, everyone who's joined in. Really, it really feels like I have definitely manifested this. This means a lot to me. Thank you for saying yes. And also at the time when you're actually supposed to be on your break. So thank you once
Yeah.
again for
Yes, guys, I'm still on vacation. Don't email me.
don't email her. He receives only my emails. Just and again, thank you. Thank you, everybody, and have a lovely evening. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you guys for joining in. Have a lovely evening.